Hello everyone, welcome back to your channel name. Today, we're diving deep into an intriguing and powerful topic that has piqued the interest of millions around the world. The question of whether Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is mentioned in the Bible. We'll explore surprising passages and shed light on fascinating interpretations that may leave you speechless. So stick around because you're about to witness a mind-blowing revelation. Here's a more engaging version of the script. Hey, what if I told you that Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is actually mentioned in the Bible? Yes, you heard that right. And no, this isn't a conspiracy theory or some fringe idea. We're talking about real verses. Stick with me because I'm about to break it down. Let's start with Deuteronomy 18:18, where God says, I will raise them up a prophet from among their brethren, like unto thee, and will put my words in his mouth, and he shall speak unto them all that I shall command him. Traditionally, many people have linked this prophecy to Jesus. But let's pause and think about it. Are we really sure that's the only interpretation? If we're talking about a prophet who is like Moses, we need to look at who Moses was. Moses wasn't just a preacher or a teacher. He was a lawgiver, a leader, and a political figure. He led his people out of oppression, established a new community, and most importantly, brought down a complete law from God. Now compare that with Jesus. Yes, he was an incredibly influential spiritual leader, but he wasn't a lawgiver. Did Jesus bring a new legal system? Not really. His mission was more about transforming hearts and spirits, rather than laying down new laws. So, could it be that this prophecy points to someone else? Could it be referring to Prophet Muhammad? Let's explore further. Let's take a look at Prophet Muhammad. He wasn't only a prophet, but also a lawgiver, a leader who founded an entire society rooted in divine law, known as Sharia. He navigated politics, warfare, and community building, much like Moses did. So, when the Bible mentions a prophet like Moses, doesn't Muhammad fit that description better than anyone else? But it gets even more interesting. Let's dive into John 14:6, where Jesus says, I will pray to the Father, and he will give you another comforter, that he may abide with you forever. The word comforter in Greek is paraclete, but some scholars suggest this could actually be a mistranslation or alteration of parakletos, which means the praised one. Now, here's where it gets exciting. What does the name Muhammad mean? That's right, it literally means the praised one. See where I'm going with this? Could it be that the Bible has been dropping hints all along, hints that might have been misunderstood, mistranslated, or even overlooked over the centuries? This isn't just an obscure theory either. Early Christian and Jewish communities were actively awaiting another prophet after Jesus. If you dive into their texts, you'll find a constant expectation of someone else, someone who now, here's the twist, Muhammad came along 600 years after Jesus, claiming to be that final prophet. And he didn't just bring teachings, he brought a complete law and a new revelation. This is exactly what Deuteronomy and other biblical texts seem to be pointing towards. So here's the question, if this connection is so clear, why isn't it discussed more openly? Why is this idea brushed under the rug? Because acknowledging that Muhammad could be mentioned in the Bible would fundamentally shake Christian beliefs. This isn't about promoting one religion over another, it's about looking at the scriptures with an open mind and asking the tough questions. Could it be that the Bible has been pointing to Muhammad all along? When we line up the characteristics, mission, and impact of Moses, it's Muhammad who stands out as the true fulfillment of that prophecy. And here's something even more fascinating. After the time of Jesus, both Jewish and early Christian communities were still actively waiting for another prophet. Why? Because despite everything Jesus did, there was still an expectation of someone else. People back then understood that the prophetic line wasn't over. The Messiah had come, yes, but the texts, traditions, and conversations kept hinting at someone else, a final messenger who would bring the complete message. Take Isaiah 42, for example. This chapter describes a mysterious servant of God who will bring justice to the nations. open the eyes of the blind, and free those trapped in darkness. Some interpretations try to apply this to Jesus, but look closely, it doesn't quite fit. The description here isn't just about spiritual salvation, it's about justice on a global scale. It's someone who brings a new law, someone with a universal message meant for all nations, not just one group. And here's where it gets really interesting. Early Jewish and Christian writings make it clear that the idea of a final prophet wasn't just speculation. It was common knowledge. The Jewish community was waiting for a prophet like Moses, someone who would bring something new, more than just spiritual renewal. Early Christians, many of them, believed in the same thing. But over time, these expectations started to shift. Now fast forward to 7th century Arabia, and guess who shows up? Then comes Muhammad, bringing a message that claims to fulfill the prophecies of the past. He's not claiming to break away from the tradition of prophets before him, he's completing it. And his message? It isn't just for one group or one region, it's for everyone. That's exactly what Isaiah 42 was pointing towards. So what happened? Why didn't this expectation of a final prophet stay at the forefront of Christianity? Part of the answer lies in early church politics. After centuries of councils defining doctrine and deciding what was orthodox, the idea of another prophet began to seem like a threat to the foundation. And so, these expectations were gradually minimized, overlooked, or even ignored. But take a step back and look at the bigger picture, and the pieces start to fit together. Prophecies weren't meant to be locked away. They were clues, hints about a final prophet who would come to wrap up God's message to humanity. History shows that, even long after Jesus, many were still waiting for that prophet. So, how does all this connect to Muhammad? It's simple. He claimed to be that final prophet. Prophet Muhammad claimed to be the final prophet. And when you look at how early Christians and Jews were interpreting their own scriptures, they already had an expectation of someone exactly like Muhammad. In fact, some scholars argue that not only is Muhammad referenced in the Bible, but that his actual name may even appear in early Christian texts. This isn't just some wild theory. It's based on deep dives into the original languages and texts, and it's enough to make you rethink everything. Let's look at John 16:7, where Jesus promises that after he departs, the Paraclete will come. Most translations refer to this as the Comforter or the Advocate. But here's the twist. Some scholars believe the word used in the original texts wasn't Paraclete at all. They suggest it might have been Parakletos, which translates to Praised One. And what does the name Muhammad mean? It literally translates to the Praised One in Arabic. Now think about this. Why would the original meaning of this word matter so much? Because if the original text really did say Parakletos instead of Paraclete, we could be looking at a direct reference to Muhammad. Imagine if the Bible actually mentioned Muhammad by name, the Praised One. That's not just a vague metaphor or abstract title. It's specific, and it changes the entire narrative. But why might this have been altered? Historical evidence shows that early Christian texts went through countless edits, revisions, and translations, especially during the process of standardizing Christian doctrine. Could this have been one of those changes, a subtle shift that aligned the text with emerging Christian orthodoxy, while sidelining any mention of a future prophet who didn't fit their narrative? If the name Ahmad, another name for Muhammad, was indeed in early texts, it suggests a deliberate shift away from acknowledging a prophecy that was clearly foretold. In fact, the Quran, in Surah as-Saf 61:6, mentions that Jesus himself foretold the coming of a messenger named Ahmad. And while some might dismiss this, linguistic evidence might just back it up. So here's the big question. Why isn't this front page news in religious studies? Why isn't everyone talking about this? Because it challenges long-held beliefs. It suggests that early Christians may have known about Muhammad all along. Here's a more engaging version of the script. It's possible that early Christians even tried to suppress this knowledge as the church expanded and solidified its teachings. And that's the thing, history isn't always as clear-cut as we think. Sometimes, what we accept as fact has been shaped by centuries of editing, omission, and revision. So, when we hear that the Paraclete was supposed to come after Jesus, and then learn that this word might have actually been Parakletos, or praised one, it raises some serious questions. Now, let's dive into one of the biggest debates in biblical prophecy, Deuteronomy 18:18. Yes, I know you're thinking this verse has been analyzed a million times, but not like this. When God says he will raise up a prophet like Moses, we have to stop and ask a critical question: who really fits this description? Most people are taught that this prophecy is about Jesus, but when you look closer, the details don't quite line up. Moses wasn't only a spiritual leader, he was a lawgiver, a political leader. He didn't just inspire a revival, he led a nation, laid down laws, and guided his people in every aspect of life. Moses led his people through some of the toughest challenges they ever faced, guiding them as a leader, lawgiver, and founder of a nation. Now, let's compare that with Jesus. Yes, Jesus was a powerful spiritual figure, but he didn't establish a legal code or create a political system. That's not a criticism, it's just a fact. His mission was different. But when you look at Muhammad, things get really interesting. Muhammad wasn't only a prophet, he was the leader of a nation. He brought a legal code, and he united an entire people. That's exactly what Moses did. The parallels are striking, and it makes you wonder, why is this connection so often overlooked? Here's what the text actually says. God promises to raise a prophet from among their brethren. Now let's break that down. Brethren doesn't necessarily mean from the exact same lineage as the Israelites. It could mean from their brothers, the descendants of Ishmael. And who are the descendants of Ishmael? The Arabs. This link is undeniable, yet it's rarely discussed. Many Islamic scholars argue that this prophecy was never fully fulfilled by Jesus. Why? Because Jesus didn't come as a military leader, nor did he bring down a new law for the people to follow. His mission was centered on spiritual renewal, which is incredibly important, but it's not the same role that Moses played. Now, let's turn our attention to Muhammad. He brought a comprehensive legal system, known as Sharia, that transformed the Arabian Peninsula and later influenced much of the world. Muhammad wasn't just a preacher, he was a legislator, a ruler, a warrior, and a unifier. In terms of impact and leadership, Muhammad resembles Moses far more than Jesus, especially in how both interacted with the societies they led. So if we're taking this prophecy seriously, we must admit that it aligns with Muhammad far more clearly than with any other historical figure. When you start connecting the dots, it becomes apparent that the prophecy in the Torah might not have been fully realized until Muhammad appeared on the scene. Yet due to centuries of tradition and interpretation, this connection has often been ignored or dismissed by mainstream religious teachings. Now, let's explore something that often gets sidelined in discussions about biblical prophecy: the lineage of Ishmael. Most people are familiar with the story of Isaac, the chosen line. We often hear about Isaac, through whom the Israelites trace their lineage. But what about Ishmael, Abraham's other son? Why is his story so rarely discussed, especially in the context of the legacy of prophethood? Genesis makes it clear that God had grand plans for Ishmael too. In Genesis 17:20, God says, "As for Ishmael, I have heard you. Behold, I have blessed him and will make him fruitful. I will multiply him exceedingly. 12 princes shall he beget, and I will make him a great nation." This isn't just some random blessing. It's a powerful promise from God to make Ishmael's descendants a great nation. This isn't a footnote in history, it's a monumental declaration. So, if Ishmael was blessed to become a great nation, what happened? Who are his descendants? And why don't we hear more about this great nation in traditional biblical teachings? According to both biblical and Islamic traditions, Ishmael is recognized as the forefather of the Arab people, and through his lineage came none other than Prophet Muhammad. That's right, the great nation promised in Genesis is none other than the Arab nation, and Muhammad stands as the most significant figure from that lineage. Is it possible that the Bible, revered by millions worldwide, could contain references to a prophet who appeared hundreds of years after it was written? Many scholars have delved into this question, finding verses that seem to point towards Prophet Muhammad. pbuh. The Bible contains passages that describe a prophet who would come after Jesus, and some interpretations suggest these verses might apply to the final prophet of Islam. This isn't a modern idea. Respected historians and theologians across centuries have studied this theory, and it's something that has sparked curiosity in people of various faiths. To understand this theory better, let's look at some specific Bible verses that are often highlighted in this discussion. In Deuteronomy 18:18, for example, God tells Moses, "I will raise up for them a prophet like you from among their brothers." This phrase, "a prophet like you," has led some scholars to draw parallels between Moses and Muhammad. Additionally, Isaiah 42 is often brought up as it speaks of a servant who will bring justice to the nations. This servant is said to come from a land of Kedar, traditionally associated with Arabia, making a potential link to Prophet Muhammad even stronger. Moving to the New Testament, there's the famous mention of a comforter in the book of John, which has sparked significant debate. Jesus speaks of the Paraclete, translated as comforter or helper, whom he says will come after him to guide people into all truth. While Christians often interpret this figure as the Holy Spirit, some interpretations suggest that this could refer to a human prophet. These verses have intrigued many who believe that the Comforter could symbolize Prophet Muhammad, whom Muslims believe was sent with the final message to humanity. Let's take a moment to consider the historical context of these verses. Interpretations of religious texts are complex and can vary widely, influenced by historical, linguistic, and cultural factors. Some Muslim scholars argue that the descriptions align with Prophet Muhammad, pbuh, who came with a message that was both in harmony and completion of earlier revelations. On the other hand, many Christian scholars interpret these references differently, understanding them as symbolic or as pointing toward other prophetic figures. However, the parallels have stirred meaningful discussions and opened the door for further exploration. So, why does this topic continue to resonate across cultures and religions? Well, it speaks to a universal human quest for truth, understanding, and discovering potential references to Prophet Muhammad, pbuh, in the Bible has motivated people to look at the two religions' commonalities, fostering interfaith dialogue and greater understanding. These discussions may not offer definitive answers, but they highlight shared values, encourage curiosity, and strengthen the bridges between diverse communities. Welcome to Blessovia Science TV, where we take you on an exhilarating journey through the cosmos and unravel the mysteries of science. We are excited to offer you the opportunity to become a valued member of our ever-growing community of cosmic enthusiasts and knowledge seekers. Exclusive access to cosmic content. As a member of Blessovia Science TV, you will gain exclusive access to a treasure trove of cosmic content, including documentaries, interviews with leading scientists, space missions updates, and awe-inspiring visualizations of the universe, live Q, and sessions with experts. Your membership will grant you the chance to participate in live Q and sessions with renowned scientists, astronomers, and space explorers. Get your burning questions answered by those who push the boundaries of human knowledge. Embark on a journey that spans the cosmos and join us in unraveling the secrets of the universe. Become a Blessovia Science TV member today, and together we will reach for the stars. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, like, and share. Don't forget to leave your comment.